Hi people, it's Archivist here, and today we're entering the second phase of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare beta. Now, what I was hoping to do was to try out the game on the Xbox One X. I was curious to see if the resolution was any better. Something I mentioned in my first video when I started playing this game was that I didn't think the resolution was all that impressive on PS4 Pro. It's a little bit soft, a bit blurry, and I was wondering if the Xbox One X would fix that. Unfortunately, I can't seem to play it on my Xbox. Not only was there this massive blanket delay where no one could get into the beta for about an hour or so beyond the advertised time, but also when I tried to log in with my Activision account, it would simply just get stuck on that screen for a really long period of time, like 5 minutes. And then curiously, when I went to the website that allows you to log into your Activision account, that also had issues. But I went to my PlayStation 4 again and it was fine. And so as much as I wanted to give it a try, because I was truly willing to just go with whatever platform was best on this game, I really was. It was cross-play, so I don't have to worry about who I can play with. I can play with anyone. So it was going to purely be a case of I'm going to pre-order both and I'll cancel the one I don't want. And well, Microsoft made that pretty easy for me because I can't even play the Xbox version. Some people seem to be in it, some people are talking about there being no sound, but seriously, like, I try to be devil's advocate on Xbox sometimes, but they just don't do themselves any favours. Like, Gears of War 5 was a mess, this is a mess, and this really couldn't afford to be a mess because they're actually charging people to play the game early, and then you just can't play it. That is completely unacceptable. So what I'm showing you here is back on the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is fine because I do enjoy this version of the game. I don't have any issues with it. I was just curious to give Microsoft's version a try, but hey, they just made that impossible for me to do. So today I want to talk about a map that I didn't really cover or show any footage of in my first set of videos, and that was the Grozny Raid map. This is the biggest one as of now, pre-Ground War. It's 10v10 domination that I'm doing here at the moment. And I feel as if this sort of mode is for a slightly different kind of player to someone who might want to do 6v6. Because although the player count is technically up to 10 from 6, it feels like there are far fewer players in the match because the map is much bigger than you get on a general 6v6. So it feels quite empty at times. And I think to some people that might be okay because they don't mind being able to walk around the map, enjoy it, be a bit slower. But for me, although I don't mind that, I think what I find jarring is, and you'll see this in the footage for sure I think, where you're walking around the map for a long time, you just want to find someone to have a fight with, you spend ages looking, like up to 2 minutes looking for people, and then when you finally do find someone, they've hit you in the back because of how many angles there are. And that could be a bit frustrating, which then led me to play in a different way, which was a little bit more campy. And I actually used the developer video that Game Informer released as a reference where they talked about hero buildings. And there are definitely 2 windows on the map that are designed to give you pretty good coverage of the center. And I feel a bit dirty as I do it because I don't necessarily like to stay in the same place for too long. I find it a bit dull, but at the same time, when I was trying to find players, I was actually looking for them. I couldn't find them until they got me from the back. So mentally I was like, well, this just isn't working. I can't play the game like this. I need to go find somewhere to be able to observe. And I did a bit better from that. I think the best part of this match is certainly in the middle. It was absolutely horrendous start to the game, where again I was just looking for people, couldn't find them until they found me, so to speak. And actually that's a difference I've noticed already in the game from the first day I played. The first day I played on Grozny Raid, it did feel like quite an engaging map with people running around, but I think as time has gone on, people have learned to get into the power positions more, hunker down a little bit. Thankfully though, if you choose to do that in domination on something like this map, then you will just lose the majority of flags and ultimately lose the game. And that's the little bit of solace that I took from this mode, because they were being so conservative and so defensive. Ultimately, that was no way that they could try and hold down both flags because they just weren't going on the assault enough. There was one brief period towards the end where they went for B, but it was too little too late. And so even though it got a bit frustrating for me because I felt like I wasn't encountering people frequently enough, at the same time we were winning the game because they were choosing to play like that. So that is why I like domination, because often if the enemy team use really sort of, I don't know, selfish tactics, at least they lose. Where in team deathmatch, you can end up employing camping tactics to the extreme, and ultimately that will not really have any negative effects on you, because it just means the other enemy team will come to you and die. And what I try to do where I can is in these domination maps is my mindset is, have you got 2 flags, go defensive. Have you got 1 flag, go on the offensive, because you can't stay on 1 flag unless you've got a tremendous lead in the game. So there was one bit where I could see that B was getting captured, and I felt quite proud of the way I did it. I ran up to B and then I planted the deployable cover ability, which I'm a really big fan of, and that allowed me to defend myself from the front while I captured the flag. And I think deployable cover is really useful because there are so many angles you can get hit from. It's nice to be able to control that in some way. And of the ammo box and the drone, I definitely prefer this as my field kit to use. And also I like the fact that this is far more believable than the specialist ability in Black Ops, where you had like bow and arrows that could explode. I like the fact it's more grounded. I will say that this map shows that the engine scales quite well, even though it's a much bigger map with a lot going on and some really good detail on the building rubble. The frame rate doesn't seem any worse, really, to my eye at least, than a lot of the smaller maps, which is great. It's not like the Alpha where you had something like Pine that was much worse than the rest. So I suppose that's a bit of a plus. But I think ultimately I will find myself probably playing on 6v6 more than 10v10 in the future. And that's just a thing of personal preference. I find the pace to be a bit too slow on 10v10, not because you have to move slowly. Sometimes, again, you can be hunting for people in this game, this map, but you just don't find them, and I really don't get much enjoyment from that. I'd rather be dying a lot than just running around the map looking for people. And obviously you can't be too aggressive in your searching, because then you'll just run out in the open and get shot to death. So you have to kind of reel it in when you're searching. You have to stay to the interior of buildings. Otherwise you will die. So there's a bit of a dichotomy there. You can get incredibly bored just staying in one spot, and it's not particularly fun. But if you then start running around the map to find people, they'll probably take you out because you're running and they're aiming down the sight and they'll kill you. So I'm probably going to go back to 6v6. I think it's going to be fun for some people, 10v10. But again, I think for Call of Duty, I like the closer engagements. I just prefer having gunfights more frequently, more often. And also, just for my skill level, I guess, I found the number of flanking points on average to be more manageable in the smaller modes than I did in Grasner Raid, where certain spots you're just going to get shot to pieces, to be completely frank with you. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Grasner Raid, and also the absolutely appalling Xbox beta launch. That is such a joke. I hope that's not forgotten either, because that's just not okay, particularly when you are asking your customers to pay more, specifically, so that they can play it early. That's what makes it wrong to me more than anything. It's inconvenient if you buy a fresh game and you can't play it immediately, but ultimately you can come back. But if it's a beta and there was an early access component and you paid for it, you are owed that complete amount of time, because that is fundamentally what you as a customer paid for. And it's just not okay that they've messed it up on the Xbox, to the point where they really should, they won't, but they should be offering some form of compensation to Xbox gamers for that, because it's just, God, Xbox gamers have it hard enough, right? Can't even get Call of Duty right. So I'm playing again on the PS4. I would play it on the PC, but I just didn't want to pre-order free versions of the game, to be frank. So, as always, people, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.